It's happened.
Oh, it happened. All right. I will be stretching out for the next 5.
You know what? No one wants it. And if anyone gives you a hard time for not doing it, I'm going after that.
Oh, yeah, baby. What's up? It's Chris Sims Unbuttoned. It's the draft recap show. Ahmed Fareed is here hosting the show as usual, holding down the fort. I'm still listening to thinking about the opening. I can't try to kiss my butt today.
No.
My back and hip hurt today. I'm going to rehab after this. So it is bothering me, but I am going to give it all I got. We got this couch here.
Yeah.
Wednesday, I'll throw my feet over the top, and I'll give it the best shot I can get. Okay?
So here's the thing.
Right.
People are going to think it's an excuse why you can't do it, but I know you. Your
You
back
know me.
and
I'll
hips
never,
hurt.
Right.
Often,
and I've never been an
actually.
excuse of getting out of like this.
Number 2.
Right.
I don't even think we should do it.
Oh, damn.
It's an image that will haunt you for the rest
You're
of
right.
your life.
It'll become a meme or a GIF or something. You're right. Maybe I shouldn't.
I don't know. Maybe we can think of
Can
an
I
alternative.
just have I wish somebody tweeted at us during the draft with Mr. Potato Head taking his lips out and then putting him on his butt because his butt. I wish I had lips I could just take out to kiss my butt there.
There are going to be a certain segment of people who say you have to do it.
All right, I'm gonna try.
But I'm gonna tell those people that's weird. Wanting another man to kiss
his own
rear
butt?
end. Yes. Yeah. Pete goes, what if he's one of those people?
Yes,
though?
right. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I said it. I gotta deliver. All right. And I know I owe our $500 to our listener who got the first 5 picks wrong. I'm
Mr.
gonna get
Riley,
that too.
Mr. Riley out there, the homie.
Let me just get into the week here.
Okay.
It was a busy weekend, had a lot going on, but yeah, it was good. It was a very exciting draft, that's for sure, and cool to recap it today.
Yeah, we're gonna go through the teams that you think had the best draft. So tier 1.
Tier 1.
Tier 2.
Yes.
And then we'll sprinkle in some homie questions on the other teams throughout the draft.
Yeah,
but
cool.
you have a lot of teams that you think did pretty well.
I do.
And made themselves better in this draft.
Definitely. I think you'll see some teams here that I got in tier 2 where I go, I don't necessarily, me personally, love these players, but for way this team plays and how they build their team, it's a great fit. And I don't hate against that. See, I'm not going to be one where I had him evaluated as the 37th pick and he went at the 47th pick, so it was a great value. Like sometimes it's just like, hey, did you get a guy that fit what you need to do? Was it a need on your football team? Okay, I'm not going to overanalyze, they picked him 7 spots too early, or they could have got better value if they traded down. No, I'm not into that. So we got some of that coming on. And it should be good. It was a crazy draft, like we thought it was going to be.
Yes.
And it continued, throughout Friday and Saturday as well.
Well, first, Pete sarcastically says in our ear, everyone won the draft, which actually is true.
Yeah.
Everyone exited
Everyone
the draft
improved the team.
with better players than they had going in because
Exactly.
even if they're not that great, there's still something different.
Right.
And number 2, that was so much fun on Thursday.
It really
at your
was.
place.
It was.
Thanks
It
for
was
having
great.
us out
Come
there.
on. Yeah.
There were certain points that I didn't know that we would be able to continue.
Yeah.
I felt like, like the drinks were flowing in there. It was a
You got a
Sims
little
barn.
nervous. You were a little nervous for me at first. I know you were. I took a little puff of my stuff outside. I had a drink, and I could tell some of my NBC, Ahmed included, were like, is he going to be able to pull this off? Can he really sit here and analyze this after he just smoked a little and he's sipping his vodka on the rocks there?
It was close.
It was close.
Yeah.
I definitely had a few moments where I was like, I think I slurred a few words there on pick 6 or 7. I was like, I better slow down.
I started sweating through my hoodie, which at that point I knew. I was like, maybe it's this bright light. I don't know, but it's a combination of things. But I had a whole lot of fun with that, and it was cool to react to. And I think the homies liked it too. And so we're going to have to figure out points that we can do that again.
more.
It's like live reaction, just in the moment.
Natural, being
to see
fans.
what it is.
Watch the sport. It was great. I really did enjoy it. And for 4 hours doing that, it flew by because we were having fun.
All right, let's go with some big picture thoughts first on the draft. Quarterbacks taken. We had 14 quarterbacks taken.
Yeah.
A record 11 in the first 150 picks. Maybe that was the Brock Purdy effect, Pete notes here in our rundown.
I don't think that's totally wrong. I mean, you heard that being brought up a lot during even Saturday and even Friday. Everybody's trying to find their Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Which, okay, I get it. Yeah, everybody wants to find that quarterback, the hidden gem, whatever.
Got to also find the Kyle Shanahan.
Well,
too.
exactly it. That's where I keep laughing and go, all right, so can we find one of those guys and put him on a team like the 49ers and have an offensive genius like Shanahan? That's part of that story too. But yeah, that's the new thing or the new fad a little bit. Also within this too, as we talked about, and here's where the draft community was correct before this whole thing. I mean, during the season, people kept telling me, hey, there's a lot of good quarterbacks in this draft. There's a lot of guys to like, right? I don't think the top-end guys were maybe as top-endish as I thought they were going to be, but they were still real good. And then the middle class was it was a very robust draft in that department. And I think that's where you saw. We had some, bigger prototype pocket passing quarterbacks. You had a few that were, hey, this guy's an athlete and he needs some work in throwing the football. Here's another guy that's, played a lot of football, and there's some things we need to improve about his game. So it kind of had a little bit of everything there. And I think that's why, you saw 14 go off the board. I don't know if it was the Brock Purdy thing is a real thing, sure. But I don't think that alone is what allowed or lent to all these guys being drafted.
A couple really surprised me.
Yeah.
Levis falling surprised me a bit.
Of course, right.
C.J. Stroud, Judy Houston surprised me just because we hadn't heard the chatter on that. But Stetson Bennett, fourth round to the Rams.
Right.
That one stuck out to me.
Yeah, it sticks out to me too. I wasn't shocked. Like knowing the NFL community, right? And even a guy like Sean McVay.
Yeah.
Shanahan's the same way here in that way. John Gruden, who I grew up under, has like that. Hey, I can get a backup or third stringer, a guy who's played a lot of football, got some football pedigree, right? He doesn't need a ton of reps for me to get him better. He's played a lot already. That's what Stetson Bennett is. So I think that's why people liked him. Yeah, he's not my cup of tea, but there's no denying that, yes, battle-tested, played in a lot of big-time football games, right? Was playing in a pro-style offense under Todd Monken, the now offensive coordinator for the Ravens. So there's that there to where coaches look at that and go, okay, wait, I don't have to go like baby steps with this kid. I don't have to go, hey, can we work on the quarterback-center exchange? Can we get in the huddle, right?
Yeah.
That's already done with Stetson Bennett, let alone some other things to go along with it too. So, yeah, that was a little high for me as well. But I think the reps and the – yes, the word I'm missing. I just think the reps and the
experience that he has playing football.
That's the word I was looking for, is why he got drafted in the fourth.
I think I saw one tweet out there that said it's really cool that the Rams have a veteran quarterback to mentor Matt Stafford. Now,
that's funny.
That's how
you think about McVay
reversal.
too. He had John Wolford, right?
Yeah,
who's a similar kind of guy, right? It's a scrappy, smaller type quarterback who knows how to play and has a good feel for the game. But there's going to be some things about his physical ability we're going to go, I wish he was better at that or he could do that. But whatever. He's the backup quarterback. You got to think in the realm, and you've said this before, like 4 or 5 games. Just, hey, we need a guy to go by 4 or 5 games. After that, teams are going to catch on to the flaws, and we're not going to look as good.
Yeah.
But that's what a backup quarterback is for the most part.
43 trades made. It was a draft record.
Oh,
I have a theory on that.
Oh, I like to hear it.
GMs are younger.
Yeah.
And they, I think some teams have younger GMs.
Sure.
They've all grown up in the generation of fantasy football.
Yeah, they're not afraid.
A little more experience on wheeling and dealing them.
I think so.
A little bit more.
I think there's that. There's no more, the rookie salary cap, I think, helps trades in the first round because now everyone's like, wait, I don't want to go up to number 3 and pick a guy that, I like his talent, but I got to pay him $80 million before you ever see him on the field.
Yeah.
Right? So that makes more GMs bold to make these moves the last 6 or 7 years. I think you're right. There's a little bit more of a, I don't know. You get more of the blue ribbon credit right now for teams that go all in. So GMs are all into that.
And accumulating picks.
Picks,
you become a hero doing it either way.
Exactly right. And I think with this draft, between the quarterbacks, we talked about this leading up. We thought this might be a crazy draft. Yeah. All you got to do is look at, they invited 18 people to the draft, and 4 of them didn't get drafted. That just tells you how clueless the NFL was about what was going to happen in the first round, right? So I think there's that. There was like we talked about, the elite players that had injury concerns, off the field concerns, right? Certain team needs. Everything played into this a little bit overall. I think the biggest reason that played into it, though, and we saw so many trades, was it wasn't an overly talented draft. So people had earmarked like, wait, there's only these 5 linebackers to get. So we got to get them while they're hot, right? So you get to round 3 and they're like, wait, 3 or 4 of them are gone. we're down to the last one, the teams weren't going to, they just knew there was a big drop. And I think you had a lot of instances of that throughout different positions.
Got a question from SB Family Ohio.
What up?
Can we get a segment for the teams that drafted the most guys from Chris Sims's top 5 list? My Bucks took Cancey, his number 2 defensive tackle.
That's right.
And Cody Mock.
Right.
Cody Mark, his number 5 interior O-lineman. Tampa also signed Sean Tucker as an undrafted free agent. That was a surprise to me that
Tucker's got
undrafted.
medicals everywhere. He's got medicals everywhere. So that was wasn't able to work out for anybody.
They need to fax us the medicals.
I know.
Moving forward.
Well, I know. It's usually, and what's the worst part about it is usually it's like, I feel like they come out right as we're getting done with our rankings and all that. And I'm like, oh, gosh, Sean Tucker's got medicals. Oh, gosh.
But what you do is different anyway. You're just
I don't care.
evaluating
I'm just
tape.
going on
You're just
film.
going on tape.
That's right. I'm going on tape. And
a healthy Sean Tucker is still a top 5 running back in your eyes.
Exactly right.
Yep.
Exactly right. And he could be a starter for a team like in Tampa Bay here in a few years, or even this year. But, yeah, I liked what they did. You know, of course I love Calijah Kancey. And then Cody Mock, I mean, he's one of the best interior linemen in the draft. And then, you know, his no teeth in the front of his mouth, coupled with Ryan Jensen, the center, who also has no teeth in the front of their mouth, they're like going to look like best buddies.
Wait, didn't Vita Vea lose a tooth in a game?
I think he did. So they have big people with teeth problem down there in Tampa right now, which is very funny.
Every team has their thing, right?
Everybody has their. They're Buccaneers, and then they never have a full set.
That's right.
Yo ho, yo ho. You know, when that tooth gets a little sore, they just put that freaking sword in there and they pop that shit out.
They take it out. I don't need it
yeah,
anymore.
Or what's the hook? The hook. They put the hook in there and they hook that
Captain
out.
Hook goes up and just start pulling people's teeth out.
Who knew? Matey, who needs a tooth?
Your number 5 linebacker, Ivan Pace Jr., the bowling ball.
Yeah.
Was a top 5 guy, was not drafted, did sign with the Vikings, though.
I was kind of shocked that nobody took him towards the end of the draft.
But you can see why with him more. It's like his size and shape is atypical.
I know.
Out of Cincinnati, right?
It is, out of Cincinnati. But see, where I want to argue it a little bit, there is, you know, like To'o Toto, who's not much bigger.
Yeah.
And he goes off in the mid rounds. Why? You know, I want to be like, why? Because he was at Alabama and we just trust it, and that's why. You know, so we'll see. But yeah, I do like my Ivan Pace Jr. I really do.
Those were your only 2 players in your top 5 that did not get drafted.
Right.
The most players taken from Sim's top 5 list, my Detroit Lions.
Aha! We're building something, Ahmed.
I mean, that's what
we're building something.
So when they took Gibbs and Campbell, and we'll get into that, I think, a little early perhaps, but I was like, okay, that's Sims's number 2 running back. It's the community's number 2 running back and a top linebacker. He was number 3 for you, but
he was in tier 1 for me.
Tier
Gibbs,
1, that's right.
Right, with Bijan.
Yep.
You know, the only difference between those 2 guys is one guy's 15 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
They're the same guy.
And I think Gibbs is more explosive.
I would agree. Gibbs has more of an ability to go 70 yards to the house, for sure. So, yeah, that was cool to see. And, yeah, we'll discuss the Lions a little bit more as we go along here. But, yeah, they certainly took some Sims favorites right there.
Yes.
And so did the next team, the Eagles.
Yeah, they also had the Lions had your number 2 tight end, Sam Laporta out of Iowa, Brian Branch, your number 3 safety out of Alabama, and then Hendon Hooker out of Tennessee. So we'll get into that, but we are going to start with the Eagles, who had 4 Sims guys. They had your number 1 guy in the draft, Jalen Carter, edge, gone. Your defensive tackle, gone.
Number 1 player, period.
Number 1 player, gone. Edge number 3 was Nolan Smith. They took him. Sidney Brown, your number 2 safety out of Illinois. They took him. And Keely Ringo got good value on him, your number 5 corner that I see a lot of places out there like, ooh, that's a sneaky good pick for the Eagles. He was your number 5 corner. And so let's get into it. Tier 1, and I will give it away.
Yes, do.
You only have 1 team in Tier 1 of good drafts in the 2023 season.
Well, it's like there's a lot of teams that had good drafts, but we got to make one the king of the draft. And, like, the Eagles won the draft, in my opinion. So I'm going to put them in their own tier. I am. You know, I know it's not a for sure thing, and we got to see how it all works here and all of that, but – you know, like you said, number 1 player in the draft. Nolan Smith, definitely a top 15 player in the draft for me. On the big board, whatever. You know, really out of the pass rushers, maybe the most second naturally gifted pass rusher behind Tyree Wilson, right? So, I mean, to get him at pick 30, that's insane. There was only 1 guy in the draft that had Von Miller-esque type pass rush moves off the edge. That was him. Then Tyler Steen, the guard tackle combo from Alabama. I think ultimately he's going to be a guard in the NFL. But if there was like one spot on their team you looked at to go, ooh, maybe they could just use somebody there in case an injury or help depth or whatever else, right? So they got that. Then they get my favorite strong safety nickel type in Sidney Brown. And that's when I decided to tweet out to the public, like, the Eagles, stop. This is illegal. This is illegal team building.
And people were like, he's just trying to make up for all the hate that he's thrown on the Eagles.
I know.
It's
so funny with the Eagles fans. I get so many Eagles fans that are like, yeah, you love us, man. You give us respect. And then they get the exact opposite just because of the Jalen Hurts thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to go, wait, did you ever hear anything else I say about the team? I only talk negatively about Jalen Hurts. And it's really, I'm just trying to give a little food for thought. But then, like you said, too, to get Calijah Ringo, I mean, one of the bigger corners in the draft who ran 4.39, to get him at the start of the 4th round, I mean, just holy shit, Philadelphia. That's all I could say.
I think it was pretty certain that they had the best roster last year in football, and they have just added perhaps the best draft class to that best roster.
I just saw something on TV that said the 49ers are the favorite in the NFC.
All right, we'll get to that.
And I was like, what?
Pin that thought.
Okay, I'll pin
that thought because we got to
zip it up.
We got to give Elliott Wilkinson his due. He said it was the Eagles' best draft.
Yes.
He goes, it's the obvious answer, and I understand that there's some off-the-field stuff with a few of them, but to add those kind of players to already the best roster I've seen since I've been watching, and he's been watching since 2014, is a joke. Just put the Eagles in the Super Bowl because it's over. He mentioned the character issue.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jalen Carter, we all know what happened off the field with him. But you made a point in talking to Dan Patrick today, and I heard that. And you may have made it with Mike Florio earlier, that Jalen Carter perhaps went to the perfect spot for that.
We talked about how, like, the Seahawks at 6 or 5, right? We were like, that would be a good spot for them. They know how to deal with personalities and those kind of guys, right? I'm disappointed I didn't say this team because this team really is set up the best. One, your buddies are there. Right? You got Jordan Davis, who you went to school with, and he's already been in Philly. He could show you the ropes. The quarterback of the Bulldogs defense, Nakobe Dean, is going to be the new starting middle linebacker there, in his second year. So, okay, wait, here's another great leader of the Georgia defense here to help Jalen Carter steer him in the right direction. Let alone he's got 2 guys in the same class with him that are coming, and Calijah Ringo and Nolan Smith. So he's got that. And then you got a guy like Fletcher Cox on the inside who's an ex-SEC badass mother D tackle, right? Who can show you the ropes. He's been to the Hall of Fame, show you how to work, how to prepare, do all that. So from that standpoint, it is the perfect setup for a guy like Jalen Carter. And he's not going to have the pressure of like, hey, you have to come in here and take over right away. Yeah. They're literally going to be like, you're third on the depth chart. He's like, what? I've never been third on any depth chart. They're like, well, you're third here. You got to earn your way.
Settle in. Let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Okay.
Because I think there's some chatter out there that other GMs are not real happy with all the praise that the Eagles are getting here. And so let me be devil's advocate
please do.
and speak
like
for them.
Right.
Because it wasn't like they didn't know about Jalen Carter and see the tape. It wasn't like they didn't know about Nolan Smith and see the tape and the good things. There were reasons they passed on him.
They couldn't risk it.
Is that what it was, you think?
I think they couldn't risk it.
Or
the
they just
Eagles
didn't think they were as good as we think they are.
No, I think they do. You know me, Ahmed. I talk to a lot of people. Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith are in everybody's top 15. I didn't know anybody that didn't have Jalen Carter as the top player in the draft. I didn't know anybody. Not one guy.
Risk it. Teams couldn't risk
I think it just became a little bit. Right. The potential problem in a draft like we talked about last Monday where there's not a lot of high-end players, and some teams I think just went, we're going to go for the for sure high floor guaranteed type of thing, right? And that's between, the injuries and Jalen Carter off the field. So, but, one, still to pull it off, they were able to pull it off because he's already put the team in a spot that it allows them to go, whoa, wait, we don't have to take like a for sure type of thing. We can kind of take a big cut here and try to, hit a home run to right center and go 500 feet over the fence, right? Yeah. I think that's kind of how they looked at it. So you're right. I mean, again, we all got to see how it plays out. But these are more than just like, these aren't like devastating injuries or, and really, Jalen Carter's the only guy we're talking about here.
Yeah.
I think Nolan Smith was a little bit of
size,
injury, right? And then got caught in the shuffle of like, it just wasn't the right year for the teams for him in the middle, 15, 18, like there were teams that would look at him and go, oh, he's our cup of tea.
Yeah.
So I think there's a little bit of all that. So I'm going to continue to praise Howie Roseman, but
sure.
But I understand the people pushing back a little bit.
Swinging for the fences, but that also means you could strike out.
Well,
so
yeah,
maybe this will be
right.
a strikeout on a couple of players.
Right.
Pete notes, Giants fan Pete, I'm old enough to remember the last time the Eagles had a dream team. And so that is the Giants.
Yeah, but that dream team didn't just come off the Super Bowl and like was already on a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. That's all right. Yeah, Vince Young ain't going to be here to save you. That like I said on Twitter, I think on Friday, I wrote, they have the 90s Eagles defense right now, which my dad would tell you is the best defense he ever played against in his life. You know, that late 80s, early 90s Eagles. And they have the 92 Cowboys offense. Like, it's kind of a good team. Just the 90s defense, the 92 Cowboys. That's it. Just those two teams right there.
Well, if that's the case, then they will be hands down the favorite to get to the Super Bowl once again. BetMGM is here for that. And the Eagles are the favorite right now. But the 49ers are not far behind.
Right.
So
I saw a flipped one of this on another sports book on TV.
Check back tomorrow because who knows. Eagles are plus 300. 49ers are plus 350, so they are very close.
Right.
Cowboys, the third choice at plus 650, and then my Detroit Lions, at plus 850.
You're not under the radar anymore there, Ahmed.
I don't like
you
that.
guys are all out there. Yep.
I don't like that
the
at all.
Lions, your own dream team out there. Well, I think the 49ers are awesome. We know that. I guess I would probably have the Eagles as even a little bit more of a favorite than the 49ers at this point, but not by much. And
it just goes to show you the 49ers quarterback situation is so up in the air right now.
Exactly.
And
And
I guess Vegas doesn't care.
they don't even care. Well, yeah, because the 49ers have showed us like quarterback doesn't matter. They pretty much shown they can win and do it a lot of different ways. But I think the biggest thing about this graphic here, what we got from BetMGM and the NFC odds, is just that clearly there's two teams and then there's a fall off. I mean, their odds are twice as good as the Cowboys, who's the third team on the list, and then even the Cowboys are significantly up on the line. That's where it's a crazy thing right now. I said this today on Florio. The AFC is as good as we've ever seen it. It's as good as the 1970s, and then you got in the NFC and you go, okay, Eagles, Niners, and okay, Cowboys, we know that, but who else is going to be there? We think your Lions are going to be there, but I'd like to see it. I think the Seahawks are going to be there, but I'd like to see a little bit more. So there's it's clearly a gap in the NFC.
Maybe some teams will surprise us in Tier 2. But first, we want to say the action never stops at BetMGM. Sign up now using the bonus code SIMS. Your first wager risk-free up to $1,000.
So say you bet $100 on Ahmed's Lions to win the NFC. If you win, you get $850, but if you lose, you still get $100 worth of free bets.
Simply download the BetMGM app today or go to BetMGM.com and enter the bonus code SIMS to make your first wager risk-free up to $1,000. I think Lions fans understand. You just don't want to get your hopes up, right? You'd just rather go in with low expectations.
You've been burned for a lot of years, but I think this is the year. Here we go.
Okay.
I think this is the year
I think
where
it is too.
You guys are legitimately real.
Okay.
And you have real culture and things going in a positive direction.
That's too much now. That's too much. Now I'm getting uncomfortable again. We'll get to the Lions because you thought they had a pretty good draft. But in Tier 2, how many teams you got in Tier 2? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
maybe?
6 teams in Tier 2.
Yep.
And one of these teams is kind of similar to maybe the Eagles. Run-first offense. The Falcons might be the number one run-first offense in the NFL this year. And you liked what they did with the draft because hook 'em horns with their first pick, they took Bijan Robinson.
I do. I love Atlanta's draft, and I'm going to explain why. One, I don't think there is one pick made in this draft that affects a team more right away than Bijan Robinson to Atlanta, right? He is going to directly affect win-loss records maybe more than anybody we've seen in the top 10, top 15, anything like that. They're a running football team. They have, other than the Eagles, maybe the best offensive line in football. It's certainly top 5. All right? So now you get that running back. Whoa. I mean, yeah, they're going to be a force. And of course, it's going to change their team and make them more dynamic and explosive. But then to get Matthew Bergeron at the top of the second, who I loved. He was our honorable mention tackle. I think they could play him at guard. I really think he's more like Skoronski in that he's going to be a great guard in the NFL. But he can play tackle. Then we got a guy like Zach Harrison in the 3rd round. Zach Harrison was another guy, my honorable mentions. He didn't get a lot of talk in the draft process because of how he was played at Ohio State.
Edge guy,
right? Edge guy that had to do a lot of two-gapping and stuff like that too, right? Wasn't always allowed to just go rush the passer, right? I looked at him and went, damn, this you remind me of Carlos Dunlap. So I look at that, what they got going on the defensive side of the ball already. You added Zach Harrison, what that offensive line has. Now they got Matthew Bergeron, and then that running back. And I like Clark Phillips III, the cornerback from Utah, is a little bit of a nickel slot guy. I just thought their top 4 picks are really they're game changers, and I think under the radar are going to change their football team right away in 2023.
And it helps the quarterback
exactly.
Because I don't think we're sold on Desmond Ridder being a franchise guy.
Right. Or certainly not the guy we say, like, oh, hey, the Atlanta's going to drop back 40 times a game and let Desmond Ridder pick you apart, right? This takes that pressure away. It does. And then I think, they're going to get in some 2 tight end sets and, play action pass and bootlegs and all of that. And that run game and how elite they're going to be at that is going to allow him to throw bootlegs and play action to Drake London and Kyle Pitts and everybody off of that. That's just going to make them a handful.
So Pete raises an interesting question here.
Yeah.
You did see some teams do this where they go, oh, this team's got needs. And wait, hold on. They got needs, but this is the part of the team that's actually pretty good. They had a good run game last year, 3rd in rush yards, 4th in yards per carry. And so what do you think about the Falcons beefing that up even more?
We talked about this 2 weeks ago. I talked about this with Florio a little bit of don't be afraid to make your elite part of your team more elite. There's something to that. There really is. And they're doubling down on, they made a lot of adjustments and great signings on defense and free agency. So they improved that part of their roster. And then, I think they looked at it and went, wait, we're this close to being we're going to run the ball. And what are you going to do about it? Like the Titans were, or like Dak Prescott and the Cowboys were with Ezekiel Elliott that first year. Remember? I mean, it was everybody was ready to go, oh my gosh, the Cowboys are going to fall off earth. And I remember at the time I was going, oh, they're going to run the ball and Dak Prescott's going to manage the game. And they became unstoppable. So they're kind of going that way too. They're going, hey, we're going to run it, but good luck stopping it. And that's the way they want to play. And then you're going to get so desperate stopping the run, they're going to go, oh, you're all up here at the line of scrimmage. Oh, sorry, Kyle Pitts is behind you. 60-yard touchdown. Bye-bye. Right? So, I have no problem with that. I think sometimes teams drop the ball by trying to spread the wealth too much. And then I look at their team and go, you don't have one unit on your team that's elite or really good, right? I'm more in favor of this and going, no, we're going to be so great at this that it's going to make you change the way you have to play us. And even that weaker part of our team is now going to be an advantage because this part is so strong that, hey, our defense, we might not be as good, but we're going to be off the field more. We're going to be chewing up clock because we're going to be fresh, and we're going to play a style that'll help the defense out anyways. I kind of like the move. I really do.
It's like one of those situations where it's like, oh, okay, you have a team that's weak defensively in the defensive secondary.
Did you really need a running back with Detroit?
No.
Right.
Well, maybe.
Well, I mean, to a degree. But it wasn't like a desperate, but that was one of your strengths of your team.
But it's I guess the danger, like you're saying, is you have a weakness on your team, you draft a guy, and you're still weak there. It's like it didn't really significantly raise the level of play of that unit.
No, I hear you. And I think what they're telling you is they felt like, hey, we re-signed Lorenzo Carter, we signed Bud Dupree in free agency, we got Calais Campbell, David Onyemata, right? We traded for Jeff Okudah, right? I think I'm missing somebody else there. But either way, they made those moves going, no, our defense is fine. We feel good about our defense.
Yeah.
And that allowed them to free them up to address offense with those first 2 picks.
Falcons had a good draft, making their strengths stronger. The Packers had a good draft in your eyes.
Yes, they did.
And what is Aaron Rodgers feeling right now? Because 3 of the top 4 picks are offensive weapons. A couple tight ends, Luke Musgrave from Oregon State, Tucker Kraft from South Dakota State, Jaden Reed, the wide receiver out of Michigan State. We're taken in the 2nd and 3rd rounds, but their number 1 overall pick, edge Lukas Van Ness from Iowa, with his 3 girlfriends there sitting on the couch. I don't know if you saw that
I did.
picture out there. 2 of them were his sister, so it wasn't quite true. Sorry about that. Sorry to keep that rumor going, but I cleaned it up. I set the record straight. The Packers, you like their draft?
I did like their draft. I did. First off, I'm a Lukas Van Ness fan. I am. defensive end, defensive tackle. He can play really just about anything on the defensive line other than nose tackle. So that's the great thing about him. So, yeah, I love that. And we've talked about, them in years past, why they can't beat the 49ers. If they want to beat a team like the Eagles, they got to get bigger and stouter up front, especially on the defensive side of the ball. The 2 tight ends they got, there was a desperate need for them, and they got 2 guys that are freaky. I mean, Musgrave's an incredible athlete at 6'6". So is Tucker Kraft. So they got 2 guys there that can, all right, you're worried about Dobbs and Christian Watson on the outside, and now you got those 2 being able to work downfield, let alone, like we always talk about, the 2 tight end sets and have to worry about the power running game. Jaden Reed, he's another guy we brought up during the honorable mention part of our wide receiver. He's one of those slot receivers that I look at like, yeah, don't be shocked in 2 years from now. We're like, hey, look, Jaden Reed's got 89 catches here in week 17 and 1,000 yards, right? I mean, he's got some Amon-Ra St. Brown to him, right? If you want a comparison a little bit there. So I love that. Colby Wooden in the 4th round is almost a lot like a Van Ness. Outside linebacker, D tackle, DN, can play a little bit of everything that way. And then they got my man Carl Brooks in the 6th round, my 300-pound outside linebacker.
Edge right?
Outside
linebacker out of Bowling Green.
Right. So he's again, I love his skill level. He needs some work on his anchor as far as playing D tackle like we talked about. But, yeah, all in all, I was a very big fan of what the Packers did in the draft.
Bodelicious D says, thanks for acknowledging what Florio never would. The Packers, at least to this point, had a good draft.
They did. They really did. I was impressed with their draft, and I think, got some guys that I think on the defensive side were needed and fit their culture. And then the tight end position, look, their offense, their O-line's pretty good. They got a lot of things there. But those guys that could work the middle of the field, the Randall Cobb, the Alan Lazard, right?
Yeah.
The damn tight end they lost to Chicago in free agency. Tunyon, right, Robert Tunyon. Now they have replacements for that, and I like those moves.
Now, for the record, Florio did say last week he likes the Packers' odds of making the Super Bowl more than the Jets.
He did say that, which I think he's a little crazy.
That is a little crazy.
Yeah, but okay.
Well, I guess if you like the odds, though, that means you might like the value more.
Well, I think that's what it is more than that.
Coming
I think
out
he's
of the
looking
NFC?
at the AFC is exactly. I think he's like the AFC is crazy deep,
true.
and the NFC again. I think we're all looking at it going, there's 2 teams, and then who's going to be that next tier of teams that come up and challenge them?
I can get on board with that.
Yeah.
Can you get on board with this? Maddie Carver saying about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Addressed all top needs, did so with great value at the picks taken. Omar Khan has arrived. You yourself said if anyone was going to be Gronk from this class, it's Darnell Washington. Elusive Pat F. with the 6th O-line. Najee and Pickett are happy men. So beefing up the offensive line.
That's right.
Adding some weapons in Washington. Did you like this draft for the Steelers as much as Maddie Carver?
I did, Maddie Carver. I'm with you right there. And again, this is where hey, Joey Porter's not my favorite corner in this draft. But I'm not going to be mad at them taking him. A physical, tough, culture-setting DB in Pittsburgh, which they like. I can get behind that. So that's where I don't want people to think I'm so obtuse or closed-minded. And I'll go, yeah, he's not one of my favorite corners. But they'll have a plan for him. He fits the attitude of their football team. I love Broderick Jones. Like we talked about on the night of the draft. They need offensive line help. But it's been 3 years we've been working together, and we've talked about their O-line not being good enough in all 3 years. Keanu Benton, one of our honorable mention D linemen, in that process out of Wisconsin to get him in the 2nd round. I thought that was amazing as well. I couldn't believe he was still on the board. I couldn't believe the Patriots took Keanu White over Keanu Benton.
Yeah.
2nd round. 2nd round. Did I say second? It was the 3rd pick, 2nd round.
Yeah. I think you said 6th round.
Oh, did I? I didn't mean to. But either way, I'm a big, yeah. And Keanu Benton, and here's one of the reasons I like what they did, and I saw one of his picks. He goes, I talked to Mike Tomlin. He said Mike Tomlin wants goons here in Chicago. You know me. I like goons too.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. Okay, Broderick Jones, big goon left tackle, gonna mess you up. Joey Porter Jr., come over the middle. Goon, gonna mess you up. Keanu Benton, try to run over by me. Not moving me. Goon, mess you up. Then you add on Gronk, Darnell Washington.
Yeah.
Oh, double teaming with Broderick Jones. We're going to mess you up on the end of the line of scrimmage. And then Nick Herbig, a good little player there to add to the mix as far as, linebacker edge guy there. So, yes, I like the players, and even though I don't like Joey Porter Jr. as much as everybody else, I understand them liking him, and he fits for them, and that's where I'm going to give them a lot of love.
This could be a much improved team.
Yes, it
over
can.
what they were last year,
right.
because they made some moves in the offseason, beefing up the offensive line, right?
Definitely.
In the free agency. So, yes, watch out for the Steelers.
Yeah,
and
we
Mike
know.
Tomlin.
You know they're going to compete. We know the Steelers. They got some weapons at receiver. The quarterback's going in the right direction. Their problem is like what we talk about with everybody. They're in the AFC North and the AFC in general, which is tough.
Hawkstrologer is chiming in.
Here he comes, Hawkstrologer.
Who do you think his favorite team of the draft was? It was the Seahawks. He goes, got the best corner in the draft, best to some wide receiver in the draft, fourth good edge rusher, and a solid power speed running back too. Best wide receiver room and secondary in the league now. Also great value in the trenches in day 3 and a quality third down running back in the 7th. Also got a 24 third from the Broncos. So Hawkstrologer is loving everything they did. Yeah, Devin Witherspoon, first pick, Illinois. Your man crush. And then you didn't have as big of a man crush on Jackson Smith and Jigba, but they beefed up their wide receiver room with their second pick in the first round, that wide receiver out of Ohio State.
Definitely. I mean, I'm not going to be mad at it again either. I mean, he was my number 2 receiver.
Right.
Not necessarily like we always talk about. My cup of tea is a true slot guy, but if a true slot guy could go anywhere, okay, this is one of them. I'd go, yes, this makes sense. Lockett on the outside, Metcalf on the outside. Now you get Njigba work in the middle. It's perfect. It's what we talked about when we broke him down, right? He needs that space. He's great at running routes and reading the coverage that way. He's not necessarily going to beat people outside on a consistent basis all day long. So he's perfect. And then you think about them now, and you go, damn, those 3 receivers, Noah Fant at tight end, Kenneth Walker at running back. They got 2 young tackles that are awesome. I loved all of that. So the first 2 picks killed it. Devin Witherspoon, are you come on? With Diggs and Jamal Adams and our Tyreek Woolen and Michael Jackson, I just go I don't know. It's a bunch of psychos. I like psychos. You know that. It's like Illinois. They're replicating it there.
Right.
Quandre Diggs, he don't even like me. He's got mad at me on Twitter for saying something about Jalen. I still got respect for him. He's a psycho in a good way, right? I don't know why he doesn't like me. He's mad. I said Jalen Ramsey got traded for a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah, he went off on you pretty hard.
He did went off me. It was not called for.
You wrote back to him. Did he ever write back after that or no?
No.
Yeah,
No, of course not.
Okay.
No, it was a sensible conversation. Sensible people aren't capable of, or insensible people aren't capable of having sensible conversations. He blamed me because his brother didn't win the national championship when I was quarterback. All my 1 year being a starter, I didn't. It was all or nothing right there.
Yeah.
I'm just a little mad at him. He said on social media because he didn't win the national championship when my brother was there. All 1 year as a starter, I didn't do it. Damn, I suck.
Yeah. You had one shot.
Right, one shot. Damn, I know. Top 5 wasn't good enough.
Pete, set up the interview with Diggs. We want to get this.
I would like that
out
too.
And figure out what's going on.
But to continue on the rest of the Seahawks,
okay, sorry.
You get Zach Charbonnet, right?
Yeah. What'd you think of that? I mean, that was an area of strength.
Yeah, but I think they look at it and go, let's not kill Kenneth Walker, right? Let's save him for a few years because he's special. And then this guy's got a little bit of that smash mouth. Oh, it's the 4th quarter, and now we've been tackling Kenneth Walker, and now we got to tackle him too. He's great there. Anthony Bradford was one of the better interior guards in the draft.
Out of LSU.
Yeah, out of LSU. And this first 2nd round pick, Derek Hall, right?
Edge out of Auburn.
He was someone we brought up during our Edge Day. Again, he was one of those guys where I said, listen, I like the way he rushes the passer better than Will Anderson. There's more, to me, high-end potential in Derek Hall being a superstar pass rusher than Will Anderson. So, yeah, for the most part, as you could tell, I really love the Seahawks draft.
Seahawks are they're not rebuilding. They were, what was the record last year?
Yeah, in the playoffs, that's all that matters.
That's right.
Winning against the 49ers at halftime in the wild card game.
How did that
What'd they
slip
end
my
up?
mind?
9-8 or 10-7? I can't remember. It's right there. Here, I got it for you. They were 9-8.
And they beefed up with a lot of players. Now,
yeah.
The next team we're talking about, I feel like are going through a bit of a rebuild at this point. The Tennessee Titans didn't have a whole lot of draft picks, but the first 2 they used on an offensive lineman, Peter Skoronski, in some people's eyes, out of Northwestern, the top offensive lineman in the draft.
Sure.
And then in the 2nd round, Will Levis out of Kentucky. Let's start there.
Yeah. Got their quarterback of their future.
Do they, though?
I think they do, or at least they view it.
Well, yeah.
I think that's how they look at it. We'll see. I think this is, again, another one of those where we just talked about Jalen Carter and perfect fit. I go, man, this is a perfect spot for Will Levis. He's not going to play. He's not going to beat out Ryan Tannehill. And the things we talked about him being inconsistent and getting better with, he's going to have a full year of working on it and getting to watch Ryan Tannehill do it.
Yeah.
So
Tannehill will not teach him, though. He's made that clear.
Well, it's not his job.
He's not a mentor.
You know, it's not like he's not going to teach you, but it's not his. He's not going to be like, hey, Will, come in here. Let me hold your hand and we'll go over the plays and watch film together. Right? Like, no, that's not going to. That's all he was saying.
Yeah.
If Will has a question, he's going to help him. He's not. He's going to be there for him. Just, you know, same thing with like what Malik said. It was overblown that he said that. He was just trying to make sure that everybody knew it wasn't his job to develop the guy. He's got to worry about this thing called being a starting quarterback. He's got to worry about. So, Skoronski, we know they want to run the football. Their O-line slowly dissipating over the last 2 years, whether it's free agency, age, whatever. So they needed help here. Skoronski is the most, for sure, offensive lineman in the draft. The tackle guard, I think could be a great guard. You get Will Levis, who, like I said, could be a lot like Ryan Tannehill, except he's got a bigger arm, right? But it'll still allow them to play the same style of football. Tyjae Spears, the running back from Tulane, really damn good. Definitely a guy I thought about putting in my top 5, right? He just missed out. And then they got one of my favorite tight ends in Weil. In the 5th round.
Yeah, Josh Weil out of Cincinnati.
Exactly. So I just, I thought all in all, it was a good draft for now, the future, but I really like those top 4 players right there.
So where does that put them in the division? Because not the toughest division, AFC South. Jacksonville should be the favorite.
Definitely
and I declared this, remember, right at the end of the season. I think Jacksonville is going to be one of the top favorites to win a division this year, and that might be the case.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Tennessee was 7-10 last year. I feel like they still could take a step back from that.
Well,
I don't know.
I do too. I'm never going to put anything out of them. I do think their defense is still going to be a force here. I do. The way they play, Vrabel, I think they'll. Again, I don't look at them. I think Jacksonville, to your point, is clearly the best team in the division. Do I think Tennessee can win the Super Bowl? Absolutely not. But do I think Tennessee could get to a wild card game? Yes, I do. Again, I think when you couple, hey, Harold Landry will be back. Of course, they got Jeffrey Simmons on the inside. They got Azeez El-Shaair at tight end. I think they got some, Christian Fulton and Caleb McCary are both young corners who are very good out in the edge. So I still think they're going to be a pain in the ass, I guess is what I'm saying in the AFC. But, yeah, I don't think they're a real Super Bowl contender.
The Jaguars are -160 to win the AFC South. That is the same odds of the Kansas City Chiefs to win the AFC West.
Wow.
-160.
Wow.
So I think those could even grow for Jacksonville. We will see.
Well, the AFC West is tough.
You know who's favored to win the NFC North?
Oh, well, I have a feeling, since you're a fan of that team, that's probably why you're bringing it up.
Me and Notishi, who writes into you. I loved the Lions draft. It looked odd early on, but they got 4 immediate starters. They went against the grain, filled key spots on the roster. Hendon Hooker was just icing on the cake, the quarterback out of Tennessee. It tells you that they think that they are close to having a team that could go far, and I think that is exactly the case for the Lions and spending some money in free agency. We saw that graphic on teams that spend a lot of money in free agency often make that jump into the playoffs. I think it's because these teams know they're on the cusp.
That's right.
And I think the Lions know that too.
I think
and
that's
so
fair.
I'm ready to gush. I was a little nervous with Jahmyr Gibbs, a running back out of Alabama, not because of the player, because maybe he went a little high.
Yeah, right.
I was more nervous when they took Jack Campbell, the linebacker out of Iowa, at 18. So I was a little unsettled, but saying nothing bad against those players because I think those guys will help the Lions significantly.
Definitely. That's where, again, I understand we all want the best value in the draft, and we don't want to draft any guy except for the pick right before he's going to come off the board. That's the best value because we know that team's going to pick him. So if you got him to pick before, you got the best value. Like, we all get a little obsessed with that shit. We all do. Listen, did they overdraft Jahmyr Gibbs? Okay, sure. But, like, so? What did they didn't want to risk it. They didn't want to risk falling down to what? I don't know. We're here. We could take a Jahmyr Gibbs at 12, or do we want to trade down? And now we're down at the mid-20s or low 20s, and now somebody else takes them that we didn't think. I mean, they didn't want to risk that.
Yeah.
They had their eye on a guy that they knew at a position they needed that could change their football team.
There were 2 running backs in this draft.
Exactly.
Robinson was already off the board, and it was Gibbs that was left that was in that same tier.
Right. I'm not mad at them for taking Jahmyr Gibbs 10 spots too early. Right. I mean, that's sort of like, again, they were being viewed on that, where I want to go, if they took him at, 22 that night, we would all be like, what a pick. Oh, my gosh. Right?
Yeah.
Jack Campbell? Yeah. That's too high for me, too. Right. I get it. I mean, he's a second rounder to me, a top of the second round. But, again, I think they looked at it and go, all right, so what? We trade down to the late first, early second? And what? Then we don't get the guy we really wanted? See, I think they're a team that a little bit plays on the, wait, here's our need, and then they have a very small list of the guys they want that they feel like fit their mold, and we bite kneecaps, and they'll play and do whatever I want. So they had their eyes on these guys, and they put a premium on that. So I have no problem with that when you break it down like that. Wait, we need a starting middle linebacker. Our favorite one was Jack Campbell. So who the cares if they took him 20 spots too early? If he's your favorite one and you know he's going to start and you feel that confident that he's the guy out of everybody else, I don't get mad at that. I don't know. And same thing with the Jahmyr Gibbs conversation. And then you get into the rest of the draft. Okay, so they maybe overdrafted those 2 guys, right? Sam Laporta to start the second round?
Yeah, tight end out of Iowa.
There's a reason you heard about the Raiders and other teams talking about trading up at the end of first round. They were all Sam Laporta and Michael Mayer. Everybody was going, oh shit, the top tier tight ends are gonna be off the board. We got to get one of these guys, right? So they get him, right? Now we know why they traded T.J. Hawkinson, right? And they were going, oh, damn, it's a good tight end class. We'll get somebody, and we're pretty good there anyways. Then we know they need secondary help. And you get the free safety, maybe one of the best pure nickels in the draft, and Brian Branch. And then the pick after that, you get the quarterback of the future. Like, yes, I'm a big fan of what the Detroit Lions did.
Yeah, what do you think of Hendon Hooker? Coming back from knee injury, older prospect.
Yeah.
What is he, going to be 25?
26 maybe, I think.
26
I
already?
think he's getting close to 26. Maybe I'm wrong.
Is that true?
I think
Sam
so.
Darnold's 25. That's the craziest thing that keeps
Lamar
popping up. I'm
Jackson's like younger than him, I think. Or it's right around there.
Wherever Sam Darnold had been drafted in this class.
Yeah.
What do you think about Hendon Hooker to the Lions?
He's perfect fit, like, for you guys. I think that's like, again, pocket passing, oh, you want to run the ball? You want me to stand in the pocket and make aggressive throws down the field and people around me and I'll be on point still? Damn, that's Hendon Hooker's game. I think it fits perfectly, right? So that's where I love it. Let alone I think he's got the grit and toughness they like. That's why they liked him. It shows on film. He's fearless that way. And he's a high-level thrower of the football. So, again, it doesn't make me happy to say, but yeah, I think the writing's on the wall for Jared Goff. He's going to have to do something extraordinary this year to keep his job there, I think. And, I was never sold that Jared Goff was the future. You know that.
Hendon Hooker turned 25 in January.
Oh, okay, so it was just turned 25.
Which means he'll be 26 when he's starting his first playoff game for the Lions coming up next year. So that puts a bow on Tier 2.
Yeah,
that's your Tier 2 good drafts.
Yep.
I was hoping my Lions could maybe get there in Tier 1, but close. But
well, they're just like
no
was one team that stood out so much that I gave them their
100%.
own tier.
I get that. So let's go to Tier 3.
Yeah.
Because other teams improved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in Tier 3. So we have encompassed all 32 NFL. No, that's not true. Let's start with the Bills, because you like what the Bills did, and we'll start with Laskeezy that says, Eagles is the chalk answer for best draft.
Right.
But as a member of Bills Mafia, we got the best tight end of the draft and got a wildly projected first-rounder, Osiris Torrance, in late second round. That is a win. So Dalton Kincaid is the tight end he's talking about out of Utah. Everyone seemed to like him. You loved him.
Yep.
Little bit of a back issue,
yep,
which is why he may have fallen.
Exactly right.
But the Bills got a weapon, something you've said they needed to do, and they got a guard in Torrance out of Florida to help protect Josh Allen.
Definitely. I think they're both instant contributors. That's the biggest thing. And they saw that run of receivers, and they went, oh, shit, weapons are coming off the board. This is the last weapon to have in the first round. And they went and got the tight end.
Is he more than a tight end in a pass-catching sense, like slot situations?
Oh, he's like elite top-tier route runner. He's, he's Travis Kelce running routes. Yeah, that's where he's special. Again, I know there's teams that top 10 pick. It had him on before the medicals. He's a top 10 player, right? He's definitely a top 15 player for me. There's no doubt about that. So, yeah, that's where he is really special that way. So good job by them. Good job by them knowing that the Dallas Cowboys were probably going to take the tight end. And by all due accounts, listening to the Cowboys and some of their press conferences, they were taking Dalton Kincaid, and they got passed up.
I mean, that look into the draft room.
They didn't know what to do.
They were scrambling.
They were. I mean, we were sitting there going, they are literally having a conversation about who we should draft at 26 live on TV right here. They were like, there must have been 2 or 3 guys, and they were having a conversation about it right there.
Which at that point, shouldn't you, when you're 1 pick away, shouldn't you have 2 guys? Just in case.
Well,
just in case.
I
You're
think
like, we
what
got 2 guys.
happens sometimes is you start to go, they probably did have 2 guys. And they probably, at times, again, this is where this draft was crazy, is they probably went, wait, we got 5 guys here. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden a run happens or something happens. And all of a sudden they go, holy shit, the draft changed. Or somebody traded. And all of a sudden it's like, whoa, our guys that we just were like, we're okay if he's gone and he's gone. And we're down to nobody. We got to come up with the next group here. And that's what can happen with the draft sometimes. And again, especially in a draft without big-time high-end talent, to where you can't just sit there and go, oh, okay, we missed him. There's 6 or 7 other guys here that we have needs and that'll fit and whatever else. So, yeah, that threw them a curveball.
Yeah.
Osiris Torrance, yeah, I loved him at guard. And there was the Rams, I think, took the kid from TCU at the top of the second at guard. I thought that I was kind of surprised by that, because I would have taken Osiris Torrance. But then the other aspect of this, too, that I like is the 3rd pick in Dorian Williams. Dorian Williams is ready to play middle linebacker right now. And they, of course, need somebody because of Terrell Edmonds leaving town. So that was another guy I looked at, and that's why I put them in this tier here, just to go, wait, they got 3 guys that can play right away and help their football team instantaneously.
Spoiler alert, you do not have the Cowboys as one of your good drafts, although
it wasn't bad. It just didn't kill it.
To continue that conversation on maybe getting scooped, they did take Mozzie.
Yes, they did.
Mozzie Smith out of Michigan, the defensive tackle. And apparently I read somewhere that was the guy that Micah Parsons texted Dan Quinn. I don't know if that's fake news, but that's a rumor out there that Micah Parsons was big on getting a guy like that, which would make sense.
They do. They needed somebody at that position. They're in a division with the Eagles and the Giants and Washington, who all like to run the football. So you're never wrong going with the biggest in the draft to lock down the middle of your defense, and that was fine there. It was a good pick.
Yeah, Mike is like, can you occupy some of these guys around here?
And then they got their tight end in the 2nd round, and Luke Schoonmaker from Michigan, too. So they got 2 Michigan guys right off the bat, followed by a Texas guy. It was our kind of draft for the Cowboys.
We got another team we got to add to the conversation of good drafts, tier 3, and that is the Chicago Bears. McGrady Dick says Bears.
McGrady Dick. Wow, that's a good name there.
I was just going to keep going.
Well, I wasn't.
Be Richard. Bears had one of the best drafts, and no one is talking about it. So you guys should be the first. They had the most one-score games last year, and they added an insane amount of pieces to every single aspect of their team. Ryan Poles has changed the franchise. So the first pick, they took Darnell Wright, the tackle out of Tennessee, who was your number 1 tackle. Yep. Their second pick, they took Gervon Dexter, a defensive tackle out of Florida.
Right. So, wasn't my favorite guy, but athletic, big D tackle, who's again, this is where he's not my favorite, but he fits what they want to do, which is just shoot the gap, right? This is a little of the 4-3 scheme, Seattle, rooted in the Seattle scheme. Yeah. They just want gap shooters, go through the gap, and that's what he's made for. And then you get into the 3rd round with Tyreek Stevenson, the corner there.
Corner out of Miami.
Right. Long, physical, right? One of the issues was top-end speed. Oh, okay, great. He's not great at man-to-man. Oh, all right, you're the Bears. They like to play a lot of the press bail and the zone coverages, so he fits there. Zach Pickens, a big 5 technique defensive tackle.
You liked him.
I did like him, right? He was one of my honorable mention interior guys, right?
And you also liked the running back they got next.
Then they got Roschon Johnson, who, yes, I mean, he could be their starting running back. He's 220. He can make people miss. He can run you over. I mean, he's really damn good. So I like that. And then to add to it, get a little Tyler Scott out of Cincinnati that'll round out their wide receiver room. Noah Sewell, take a shot at a guy that's got some instincts playing middle linebacker from Oregon. And I like Terrell Smith from Minnesota. I thought he is another guy, a corner, a lot like the guy we just talked to out of Miami. who I honestly think this kid had a little bit better man-to-man skills than the kid from Miami. But again, the same mold, bigger, can run, will get back, ball skills, all that. So it made sense for how they want to play. That's where I like Chicago's draft.
The NFC North has been a little bit of a laughingstock here lately with the Packers running away with the division.
Yeah.
The Vikings kind of did it last year. I think it could be one of the toughest divisions in football this year.
It's trending in that way.
I mean, Minnesota won 13 games last year.
That's right.
The Lions are favored to win the division this year.
The Packers are good.
I don't think they're going to fall off a cliff.
No,
and I think the Bears
Lions
would be better.
I hear you. We have some good divisions out there right now.
Yeah.
So I'm not ready to say they'll be the one, but I'm with you in the fact that where people think this is just like some bullcrap division, I start to go, no, it's changing here right in front of our eyes. And like you said, the Vikings are really good. And there's a part of me that could sit here and argue and go, the Packers and the Lions actually have better rosters than they do. So that's where it's intriguing.
Yeah. To your point, there are a lot of good divisions out there. The AFC North is another good division. The Bengals won it last year with 12 wins. You think they had a Tier 3 good draft, which is a compliment. That's a compliment. Not everyone gets that. Nathan Baverman says Bengals. You got young, fast on defense, allows them to put money towards retaining offense. Think majority of the guys they got could have gone a little higher. My favorite pick was Jordan Battle. So Jordan Battle, a safety out of Alabama, was a third-round pick. Second-round pick, they took your guy, DJ Turner, who was your number 2 corner out of Michigan.
That's right.
And with their first pick, they took Miles Murphy out of Clemson, who you weren't super high on, but still a piece they needed.
Yeah, a piece they needed. They need more defensive linemen. A little bit defensive alignment for the future there. Miles Murphy, again, yes, he wasn't one of my top edge guys, but I clearly saw that he was an end of the first round type of choice there. But yeah, and also a guy, D-end, has enough strength on third downs or passing situations. He plays D tackle too. So that's where I love that. Like, you're getting a guy that's going to play and be a good player right away. He's got a high floor. I never loved the ceiling, I think, with Miles Murphy. That was probably part of my reason of not having him as a top 5 guy. DJ Turner, come on. I mean, they're secondary. Him, Dax Hill, Cam Taylor-Britt. Cam Taylor-Britt was one of the fastest corners in last year's draft. Now you got the fastest corner in this draft to go along with Chidobe Awuzie is coming back. You still got Eli Apple there, Mike Hilton there, right? The safeties, and Jordan Battle's a good all-around free safety type and do that. So, that's where I love that. And then, Charlie Jones, good receiver to go along with it. Not special, but a good guy, that 4th, 5th type of receiver. But got Chase Brown, too. They needed a running back. Chase Brown can play and help them out right now. I wouldn't be surprised if he's the number 2 guy behind Joe Mixon come week 2 or 3 in the NFL.
And that was a very key part of the team last year, the number 2 guy behind Joe Mixon.
It was
Samaje Perine last year. Yeah, Chase Brown out of Illinois, Charlie Jones out of Purdue, that wide receiver. Had a big year for Purdue.
Yes, he did.
Aiden O'Connell hooked up quite a bit.
Throwing the ball all over the place with Jeff Brom as the head coach.
How is it going to be with the Indianapolis Colts and Anthony Richardson? Who's his favorite target going to be? Oh, we just are speculating. You're hanging out with me too much, man. DJ Mo Stash says Colts! ! As the best team in the draft, or had a great draft. What have they lacked? Freaks with crazy upside at key positions, addressed that everyone, and hopefully I have the coaching staff to maximize their talents. I think I may have butchered his thing there too. I'm going down a spiral.
You're on fire here.
I'm falling off a cliff here, so I'll have to stop talking.
You've had a long weekend.
It's been a long weekend. I was in Miami just literally 12
hours ago. Yes, I know. You were stuck in the airport, it sounded like.
It's like the airline thing. It's not getting any better. What's happening? Although it was raining here in New York.
It was pouring
for the entire weekend.
For 48 hours straight, it rained here in New York.
I'll give
There's
the airlines
a new lake in my backyard. It wasn't there, but it's there now.
I'll give the airlines a pass on this one. All right, Anthony Richardson. Yeah. Colts, go.
I mean, the Colts was like, what are they going to do at quarterback, right? What was their vision? So that, okay, so now we know. And we know they're going to go the Jalen Hurts, Philadelphia Eagles type of offense here. I love that, sure. And to me, what I also love is Anthony Richardson with this team, that head coach, and Shane Steichen. Yeah, they're going to be able to do things the right way around him. And as we said on the live podcast Thursday night, he has to play this second, right now. And this is one team he can go in and they go, there you go. Here's OTAs. You're the starter. Just go. quarterback power right, quarterback power left. Hey, max it up, throw a 70-yard bomb down the middle. Here's a screen, hand it to Jonathan Taylor, quarterback power right, throw an 80-yard bomb. Here's a screen. That's all they got to do. So that's where I like it. And it's the perfect spot for him to grow. It's like we talked about with Trey Lance and the other years. Like this is the biggest issue with him is lack of reps. So to fix that is not by sitting him on the bench to get more lack of reps. We got to get him playing.
The cool thing about that is it makes the Indianapolis Colts one of the more boring teams to watch from last year.
Like kind of must see now, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you're like, no, I got to see this big freak. Micah Parsons playing quarterback with a shotgun for a right arm. Holy crap, we got to see this.
All right.
So
what about what else they did?
Yeah,
too?
Julius Brents, again, not one of my favorite corners here.
Kansas State.
This is where I always keep open mind. Again, this is Gus Bradley. He invented Seattle 3. The Julius Brents that's who he is. My pro comparison was Richard Sherman. He is a really long, tall, big strider type of corner. That's what they like there. That's what he likes as far as Gus Bradley. Josh Downs, they need a slot receiver. Now they got that. Downs is your jitterbug type to work the middle of the football field. Also that weapon type to go, to accompany the Anthony Richardson offense, speed sweeps, reverses, all that, right? Mm-hmm. So that works. Blake Freeland was one of my under-the-radar favorite tackles in the draft. He's a guy to me, it reminded me a lot of like Braden Smith, a tall, longer type of offensive tackle where you go, ooh, can he really, anchor down against power rushers? Yes, he can. And then they got one of the freaks of the combine.
What's his name?
Adetomiwa Adebawore.
Adetomiwa Adebawore.
All right, that was a good try by me.
I just copied Pete in my ear. Yeah, Pete's got it down.
No,
right now.
He does.
We'll just call Pete out of the back room, and whenever we have to talk about him. But yeah, the tackle,
guy,
the defensive tackle edge guy out of Northwestern.
Right, exactly, and he fits them. Right. Again, this is a team that we talked about. It's it's one gap. It's fly off the edge, or hey, we got you a D-tackle this play. Just shoot through there, cross chaos. So he's perfect for that. Let alone, again, they had a lot of picks in the draft and can add to some depth on their football team. But those first 5 picks, I'm a big fan of what Chris Ballard and the Colts did.
Hal Bundy wants to give some love to the Raiders.
Hal
Bundy. Hal Bundy. Elite names today from the homies. Raiders only because they were so conservative that they won't have their usual bust. So I guess he thinks they got value.
He's hating on them while loving them at the same time.
Yeah, it was low ceiling, high floor guys, I guess, according to Hal Bundy. But they got a guy in Tyree Wilson with their first pick who fell more than I thought he was going to fall out of Texas Tech, who you love.
They wanted this. Trust me, this is the best. This is the top pass rusher on their board. Definitely. So this is amazing. If you read Peter King's Football Morning in America, their whole thing leading up to the draft was we want 3 quarterbacks to go off the board in the top 5, because then they knew one of the defensive players they wanted were going to be one of them was going to be on the board for them, right? So there they go.
Witherspoon, Carter, or Wilson,
and I think that's it. Yes, I think they didn't say the top 4, but I'm assuming that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
So to get Tyree Wilson there, that's awesome. And again, I think he's high floor, high ceiling. I mean, this ain't Clelin Ferrell, okay, at Hal Bundy. This guy, can lead the NFL in sacks. You could have the best pass rushing duo in football with him and Max Crosby, let alone it doesn't have to happen right now. He can learn from Chandler Jones. That's where it's great. Michael Mayer in the 2nd round. I mean, again, this is where I like the draft. Tyree Wilson comes in, he's going to be a difference maker for their football team. Michael Mayer is going to start at tight end right away from them. And then we know they know how to use a tight end there with Josh McDaniels coming from New England. And to make that move to get him, like we talked about a few minutes ago, those tight ends were going to start going on a run here.
Yeah, Laporta just went off the board.
Right,
the
so they knew they had to get up there because there were some teams there, I think, in the mid-30s and low 40s that they knew were going to take Michael Mayer. Byron Young, big D tackle in the middle, got some value as a rusher inside, can improve in some of the run game stuff, but he's an Alabama D tackle. He's big and he's athletic. So you get that. To get one of the faster corners in the draft than Jacorian Bennett, who I really liked, out of Maryland. I liked Aiden O'Connell as a good backup, prototypical pocket passing quarterback. And then one of my sneaky under-the-radar man crushes in Christopher Smith out of Georgia. Christopher Smith out of Georgia.
Safety.
A little bit crazy the way I like him.
Yep.
Comes downhill, flies, no regard for his body. Is he a free safety? Is a nickel? The only issue with the guy was like his top end speed wasn't like crazy good, right? But everything else was like, oh man, this guy is a hell of a football player. So I love that pick too, and that's where, I give the Raiders a tier 3 grade.
Tier 3 grade for the Raiders, which is a compliment because your favorite team of all time, the New York Giants, also in tier 3.
Yes.
They are one of the teams that you think had a good draft, maybe not the best draft, and Phil Morin 3 chimes in with this. First 3 picks matched up with 3 of their biggest needs: corner, center, wide receiver, solid running back.
That's right.
With pass-catching ability in the 5th. 6th round, athletic DB with speed, hard hitter who can make an impact on special teams and or transition to safety. 7th round, defensive line with size and strength. Well done, Phil Morin. You don't need to talk about it at this point.
Way to go, Phil Morin.
But Deonte Banks, the corner out of Maryland, their first pick.
Yep.
And then the center out of Minnesota, John Michael Schmitz. And then a wide receiver you liked as well with their 3rd-round pick, Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee.
Yeah, and a good running back in Aaron Gray in the 5th round.
Yeah.
So it was good all around. But yeah, I look at those top 3 again, and that's where you can tell I'm a little bit into the value of this draft a little. It's just because I go a little bit off of, guys that can contribute right now too. Banks is really damn good. Like Banks, I'm going to say I'm one of those guys that have, I didn't reorder any of my rankings really this year. I think I said this to you on Thursday night. If I had to reorder my DB rankings, the more I went on, I probably would have put Banks in front of Christian Gonzalez. I liked him more than Gonzalez the more I kept going. And even when I read back my notes preparing for the draft, I was like, my notes read better that I like Deonte Banks better. He's an island, bring it on type of corner. Just what Wink Martindale wants, just like we talked about. So that's awesome. John Michael Schmitz was my favorite center in the draft. I think he starts with him right away. I mean, he's athletic, stout. He has everything. And then, for a team that got some good receivers, we needed somebody that could bring a wow or a big play. That's where Jalen Hyatt will come in. You're worried about Darren Waller. You're worried about the run game with Saquon. You're worried about Daniel Jones and quarterback, read option and quarterback design runs. Oh, no, wait, we're all creeped up at the line of scrimmage. There goes Jalen Hyatt over the top on a 50-yard bomb, right? So they needed that element of their football team. That's where he's going to fit great. And then Eric Gray is really damn good. He's going to be a nice complement to Saquon Barkley. So, yeah, overall, I like the Giants draft.
Yeah, in that division with Philly, the Cowboys, and Washington, in case you forgot who's in the NFC East out there. Have they done anything this offseason to put them ahead of Dallas? We know they're behind Philly.
I don't think they're there as far as in Dallas territory yet. Yeah, of course they're behind Philly. They've closed, I think, the gap a little bit between Dallas, but I still think as a total, I'd probably still give Dallas's roster the advantage there.
Yeah.
But, again, I think everything in New York with the Giants is going up and up and in the right direction.
Wasn't long ago that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were competing for Super Bowls and Tom Brady got a bunch of toothless guys on that roster, and so that's going to put him in tier 3 on that alone.
I love it, right?
Lockdown Corner says for best draft, he goes Eagles for obvious reasons, but going to go with Bucks otherwise. Sneakily addressed positions they needed to retool and be ready to take that real leap the year after next. So the long-term plan for them, they got Calijah Kancey, the Aaron Donald clone is what they're hoping for out of Pittsburgh. Their first-round pick, Cody Mock with their second-round pick, Yaya Diaby out of Louisville, who went to the combine, the edge guy, and just was
freak show.
Great testing numbers.
Exactly.
And so they got some interesting players at the top.
They did. They really did. You got, Payne Durham was a good blocking tight end in the 5th round. But, yeah, the Calijah Kancey, I love that pairing. And again, then, they've kind of gone the route of, like, bigger people on the inside the last 2 years, right? Like last year it was Vita Vea and Akeem Hicks on the inside. This is where it was a little surprising to me that they went this route because I didn't know if the smaller, Tasmanian devil type would be their kind of guy.
Yeah.
But, I think they probably looked like, hey, we need a guy that can then, like what you just said, can cause some disruption, be Aaron Donald. We can't always just be like, oh, we're holding our line here and not letting you move us in the double team. So, That's where I love it. And, man, you put him with Vita Vea and Shaq Barrett and, Tryon Shanko, that's a pretty damn good front four. Cody Mauch is, one of my favorite interior linemen. I think he's going to be a guard in the NFL, right? And then, yes, his lack of front teeth with Jensen at center is going to be a sight to see there. Yaya Diaby is, again, that kind of guy you take in the third round if you're going, wait, we need an outside linebacker, right? A lot of the good ones are off the board. Who's the one that we think can really become something? He's got some of the tools to go, like a Shaq Barrett did. He got drafted in the mid-rounds. What? He's one of the better pass rushers in football? That's why you take a chance on Diaby, right? So, overall, I did like those first 3 picks. And even the Servakia Dennis, I don't know if I'm saying his first name, either way, athletic.
Servochea,
is that how you say it? I'm not sure either. Really small, almost like a safety. He's almost like Keanu O'Neal, and I think that's probably what they're going to use him as, like that big safety, small linebacker type of guy. Yeah. I could see them using him like that. But yeah, good job by the Bucs.
Servassier? Isn't that an alcohol?
Yeah.
Isn't that a drink?
Cavassier.
Oh, Cavassier. Ooh, what a great name.
That is. Servassier
Dennis out of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Linebacker going to the Bucs. Does he have all his teeth?
I hope not.
Probably not.
We're
if he wants to fit in.
Yeah.
Locker room culture. All right, so if you
funny.
did not hear your team, your team had a bad draft. It was terrible. It was not very good at all, because that closes the book on all the tiers for the teams that stuck out to Chris. We're going to throw one more team at you.
Okay.
What about the Cardinals?
Well,
maybe here. Hold on.
Yeah.
Jamie Escobedo, 7, says, although they had an average draft this year, the Cardinals managed to load up draft capital for next year with 2 first-round picks, a second-round pick, and 3 third-round picks in only the first 2 days of the draft.
Yeah. No, that was big-time moves, Yeah, it might not show on the field this year, but Monty Ossenfort being New England, again, this is why you hire these New England GMs. They have a process. They're well thought out. And I like what the Raiders did. And, of course, how can you argue with what Nick Caserio did with the Texans, right? I know I wasn't a Will Anderson guy, but a lot of people were, and that was a great job. But here was my point with Arizona. In a year where they went, we got a lot of holes. They addressed some of them, but they went, you know what? Let's kick some of this down the road next year to where the draft is supposed to be very talented next year, instead of getting all these picks this year in this below-average draft, or the draft that most people would say was like the worst draft there's been in 10 years as far as talent. And they go, next year the draft's supposed to be good, and we got 6 picks in the first 3 rounds, so we're set up. I do love that. And I like Paris Johnson Jr., and I like B.J. Ojolari, who they got in the second round. He's got some really good bend. Garrett Williams, a little nickel corner there that they needed. And then even Michael Wilson, who was my number 4 receiver in the round 3. He's got an injury history, but, man, if he could stay healthy, Michael Wilson could be a big-time football player. And then I like Clayton Tune at quarterback, excuse me.
Yep.
He was one of my, honorable mentions. And then they got one of my honorable mention linebackers in Owen Papo, who ran 4.39 at 230-something pounds. Yeah. So, there was some good things from Arizona in the draft.
You know what I'm going to do? And I didn't even run this by you.
Yeah.
They're in tier 3
Yeah,
now.
you know what?
I'm putting them in tier 3.
I put them on my thing.
You did?
On my list of teams that I had on my tiers. Yeah. But for whatever reason, I didn't say it to Pete today, so they were kind of there. So good job by our listeners here and at Jamie Escobedo 7.
We should do this every year. Like, I can just throw any random team or player on one of your lists, like, every couple weeks. It's just like, why did you have this guy your number 2 tight end? Well, I did, and Ahmed did, and he used his wild card on him. He's in there now. So let's take a look at how the homies did.
All right.
Because we had the homies, can you correctly predict the first 10 picks? And no one was able to do that.
Nope.
We did have someone pick the first 5.
Right.
Congrats to Donica Riley, and Chris, you were going to send Donica Riley $500 for getting the first 5.
That's right.
Now you made that proclamation when you were on the couch.
Yeah.
And it was early on in the draft.
Right,
and
a little tipsy, a little smoky.
I was like, is this binding? Is this legally binding?
It's binding. Yep, we're
Donica,
going with it.
It's legally binding.
Yep, Donica, we'll get your information. I'm going to FedEx that out to you this week.
So we have a couple graphics here to show how you guys did. So, all right, let's see what we're seeing here. Everyone basically, good job, homies. You watched the news and you knew that Bryce Young was going to be the number 1 pick. 96% of you picked him to be the number 1 pick. Only 14% picked C.J. Stroud to be number 2. So we lost a lot of you homies there.
Yep.
And then only 3% picked Will Anderson. Now, Pete, that's of the, I see. Oh, Pete, great job with this. So this is how many people we had left. So we had 52 people had the first 3 correct.
Right.
I mean, congratulations to you 52 people because I was out. I didn't have C.J. Stroud going number 2.
No, I didn't either.
Will Anderson 3, and then Anthony Richardson 4, so 20 of you are still there. And then Devin Witherspoon had 1 left, which was Donica. Got the first 5 correct. So
way to go.
Well done.
Really well done. I got 1 and 3.
Yeah.
But not to the right team.
All those guys.
I thought the Cardinals were taking Will Anderson, not Houston.
Yeah. All 10 of the guys who went, 1 through 10, I had them going at some point in the draft.
Right.
So it's like I feel like I was 100% there.
Oh, wow. Good. You had the top 10 players going some point in the draft. Good by you. Way to go.
Honorable mentions here to homies Andrew McGowan. Honorable mention to Andrew McGowan and Lucas Roble, the only homies to get 6 picks correct. So they got 6 within, not necessarily in the right order.
Yeah, but they got 6 out of the 10.
Yes. Oh, they got 6 perfect, but not in order. Not
Gotcha.
in order.
Gotcha.
I get
Okay.
it.
Well done by them either. And we're going to send them some swag, right?
Yeah. Pete's going to get a T-shirt. I'm going to get my wife in the sweatshop, and then Matt Casey will send it out, actually.
Yeah, sure will. Sure.
And by the way, so here we go. I'm reading this for the first time. A victory lap for you. So this is good.
You.
We got to get this into the pod. For Chris, his 2 big predictions of the draft hit. You said Bijan Robinson will go top 10. That was right. That happened.
I mean, I didn't even feel like that was that bold, but I think it was somewhat bold. I don't know if anybody really felt like the running back would definitely go top 10.
Yeah, I almost had 2 of them.
Right.
And then you said that Jackson Smith and Jigba will fall out of the top 15.
There you go.
And that happened as well.
That happened. Not far out of the top 15, or not far past the top 15.
Yeah.
But, I think you looked at a lot of mock drafts. A lot of people had him 11 and 12 and 13 and things like that where, I wasn't sure that would happen. But he landed in just the right spot at pick 20 to the Seattle Seahawks.
And your mock draft included 26 of the 31 players who went in round 1. The ones who didn't, you had Levis, Hendon Hooker,
right,
Mayer, DJ Turner, and then Schmitz.
John Michael Schmitz.
Did not go. So 26 out of 31 is very good, though.
That's not bad. Not bad. The quarterback things got me for sure. I thought somebody might jump in on Michael Mayer. And, DJ Turner was the one I'm far off by. But DJ Turner, I know. That's a Chris Sims special right there. It is. It's. I know he's my cup of tea. He's the guy I love, and he ended up going in the 3rd to the Bengals.
Who else had 26 of 31, Pete? Mel Kiper had 26. So you tied the GOAT of drafts.
Wow.
Mel Kiper.
That's rare territory right there. I'll take it.
All right, well done.
Hey, we did it.
We did it.
Way to go.
We did it again.
Boom. We did it.
Every time.
I hope everybody enjoyed the draft process this year. I thought it was fun. I mean, really, I thought Thursday night, round 1 might have been the greatest round 1 I've ever watched on TV.
Yeah.
I thought it was awesome. I mean, we had a blast watching it.
Because we were there to watch it with you.
We were laughing. We had a great time. Everybody, you know where to find us. Send in, more questions. We'll continue to break down the draft, teams, everything as we go along here. We're not too far from the Chris Sims top 40, all right?
Oof.
And we'll be back here Wednesday. Ahmed, you'll be here Wednesday, or are you out of here
I'm
Wednesday?
out of here. I'll be in Louisville,
He's going
Kentucky.
to Louisville, Kentucky. He's bourbon and hanging out with all the big-time horse people this week. So watch Ahmed on Peacock or NBC on Saturday.
Yep.
I'll be watched there.
Noon on Saturday.
Starting
on NBC.
I'll be watching mostly all day.
Yeah, just put it on
the
in the
first
background.
hour or two, I'll be in and out. But then as it gets to around 2:30, 3 o'clock, like the Sims family starts to settle in and watch pretty regularly.
So this is the first year that I'll be at the desk
Wow.
on NBC.
Whoa.
Because we're doing the whole thing on NBC on Saturday, from noon to 7:30.
So when do you get kicked off the desk for Tariq?
3 o'clock. Mike comes
right
in
when
there
I
and he
tune
goes,
in. Yes.
He goes, you've had your time.
They're gonna go. Well, call in the righty. We gotta
Yeah, don't you have something else you can do, Ahmed? I was like, no, not really. My flight doesn't leave until tomorrow.
Oh, man. I wish we could, film the send-off, when he makes you get out of the seat and he gets in.
Yeah, we might be able to do that.
Okay,
have
do
a
that.
researcher take a video of it.
That'd be good for Monday's podcast, if you don't mind.
So I'll be there, but Connor will be here on Wednesday.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
interested to hear what Connor thinks about
Yeah, me too.
how this draft went.
Definitely. I really am.
And what his thoughts are about 2024 already, because I'm sure he's already
on
digging
it.
in, I'm sure.
No doubt about that. Yeah, we'll be glad to have Connor on Wednesday. We'll break down more things NFL, draft related. Send in the questions. You know where to find us. Anything you want to talk about. Ahmed, you the man. Thanks for driving the ship as always. There's a really cute red sweatshirt you have on today. Subscribe, rate, review. All right. Peace out, homies. We'll see you Wednesday. Clap it up.
First time you ever said cute about my clothes.
Yo, thanks for watching, homies. It's the off season, but there's no off season for us here at Unbuttoned. Me, Ahmed Fareed, we're going to hit all the stories. So hit subscribe for us, okay? We got a ton coming up. My draft prospect rankings, my Sims top 40 quarterback countdown, and videos of me and NFL QBs playing catch and talking about their development and mechanics. Again, thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe. Peace out, homies. See you soon.